Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
This is the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog, the Week 15 weekend update. Rankings, injury, underdog picks, and DraftKings, pivots, and ownership. You can jump to whatever you want in the time codes, and you can hit the link right now for the Mayo Media newsletter to get all the updated rankings and injuries. A fresh newsletter will be coming on either Saturday evening or Sunday morning, very early, in case you are looking for that in your inboxes. You can go sub to that for free right now. Smash a like, sub to the channel, leave a rating on the audio podcast, and we got a ton of holiday content coming up, so don't go anywhere. All right, let's kick it off with the running back injuries. Kenneth Walker is expected to not play for the second consecutive week. Would not expect another 40 points from Zach Charbonnet at running back. However, he is the running back number 6 in the rankings this week against the Packers, be it on the ground or through the air. He rushing a touchdown somewhere along the line, along the line, and it's probably good for 20 points at the minimum in that circumstance, as long as you find pay dirt, maybe more than that. So running back 6, pretty generous, but I think that is exactly where he needs to be in this matchup. Amare DiMercado is out for Arizona against New England. That's not like a big thing for your fantasy playoff roster. However, that just means more of a concentration of workload to James Conner and a little bit to Trey Benson, but more to James Conner in this spot. His receiving over is always a really nice look in games where they are expected to be trailing. So if you think this game is closer than the spread would indicate, there's another spot where you can go to. But that's not going to make the underdog picks in a little bit. Code Mayo, by the way, at Underdog to get yourself that free pick and deposit bonus of up to $1,000. You want to win some money for Christmas? It's probably the way to do it. I mean, there's no better bet than the deposit bonus that you would get at Underdog, because you can get up to $1,000 of extra money in your account with code Mayo, okay? Bucky Irving is questionable. This is basically the same circumstance that we saw last week. Didn't practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday, and was available for the media portion on Friday. Now, I took him out of the rankings. I don't think that he's going to play. Now, if he was in, he was at number 18 in the rankings. Rachaad White was at 27, and Sean Tucker was at number 58 at running back for week 15. Now, since I have him out, Rachaad White has vaulted up to number 18 against the Chargers, and Sean Tucker is now number 34. So the most fringe of fringe flex plays, if you need it. Probably for, 14, 16 team leagues, flex plays, ones where there's no one left to pick up off the waiver wire and you have to put someone in. He's always good for a big play, it seems. So if he can come through with an ample amount of touches, then he's a guy that could score you 1 point. He's a guy who could score you 20 points. And depending on how the matchup is going to go for you in terms of if you're an underdog or a favorite in your playoff matchup, that's what you need to weigh when you go into it. But number 34 is where he currently sits, with expecting Bucky Irving to not suit up in week number 15. Alexander Mattison is expected in, but he is not expected to regain the starting role for Vegas on Monday night against Atlanta from Sincere McCormick. So Sincere McCormick is at number 29, and Alexander Mattison is at number 40, Amir Abdullah at number 51 in the rankings, since he has been phased out, as we saw mainly last week when Sincere McCormick got it going on the ground once again. They're going to run the rookie into the ground to see what they have and see if he's a viable part of their future, at least for next season, to see what they need to assess in the draft. Breece Hall, all of a sudden, is now looking like he is going to play for the Jets against the Jags. Why, if he is banged up, is he playing for a 3-10 team? This I do not know, but this is what they are telling us. So I've put him back in the rankings. I do not trust him in this spot. I mean, he could go absolutely off here. It's against a terrible Jags defense. They just run, but now they use Isaiah Davis a little bit more anyway. It's not like he's going to have 80% of the workload. He was trending downwards anyway, and now he's hurt. So he always has the chance for re-aggravation of this injury. Any sign of low play, an injury, not 100% speed, and they're going to take him out of this game. So I have him the highest of the Jets' 3 running backs at 26. So not an obvious start. And I would play a banged up Tony Pollard over him. I played a banged up DeAndre Swift over him at this point. I mean, we're not going to know if he's going to for sure going to play as of right now. Maybe we will know by Saturday evening, but I do expect DeAndre Swift to play against the Vikings in a horrible matchup. I just don't trust Breece Hall to get through this game or get enough of the workload to make it matter. And we've seen plenty of circumstances throughout the year when he was healthy where Braylon Allen would just take his touchdowns at the goal line anyway. So it's not a great spot to be in. So Breece Hall, 26, Braylon Allen, number 35, and Isaiah Davis at number 48. Should Breece Hall be a last-second inactive, I'd move those guys back up to where I had them before at number 29 and 31 in the running back rankings, respectively. Tony Pollard has an ankle injury, although it looks like he is leaning in for the moment. I have him at number 24 against the Cincinnati Bengals, Tajay Spears at number 39. Now, should Pollard not play in this game at the last second, Spears is like the pickup of the week. He's the play on DraftKings. He is the answer to a lot of your problems. So if you're hurting at running back right now in your playoff matchup, and for whatever reason, Tajay Spears is available on the waiver wire, go pick him up just in case, because you'll probably want to play him should Pollard sit. I would have him ranked at number 19 in the running back rankings if Pollard is unable to go this week. Raheem Mostert is going to be back in for the Dolphins. Not that you care. You're not playing him anyway. DeAndre Swift is questionable for Monday Night Football with the same groin injury that he played through a week ago, albeit not looking very good, against the 49ers. And Roschon Johnson is also questionable. He has not yet passed concussion protocol for Monday Night Football. Hopefully, we get more information from them about their statuses before the Sunday games actually lock. Swift is the only one that you consider play him. He's number 25 in the running back rankings right now. I do not have Roschon ranked, and Travis Homer is questionable as well with a neck injury, so it's going to be a lot of Swift or nothing in this game against the Vikings, and it is a pretty horrible matchup. You would hope that with Homer banged up, with Roschon banged up, that he can do a lot of his damage through the receiving game. At least that would be the want out of DeAndre Swift if you needed him in a playoff matchup against the Vikings. Wide receiver Noah Brown is likely out for the year, at least the regular season, the fantasy season, which we care about right now, with a ribs injury. So Diami Brown will likely step into his spot and rotate with Zacchaeus through. None of them are great plays. I like Brown more than I like Zacchaeus. Probably just means more opportunity for Zach Ertz in that Noah Brown spot, just patrolling, 5 to 15 yards down the field, turn and fall down. Maybe he can catch a few of them. McLaurin remains exactly where he was. None of these guys are starts outside of McLaurin, Ertz, Jaden Daniels, and Brian Robinson on the Washington Commanders. And a great matchup against the Saints, by the way. After that, we have George Pickens. He is out again for the second consecutive week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this time in a very difficult matchup going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. I have Calvin Austin III as the next highest wide receiver for the Steelers, but he comes in at number 53. He's on that level with the big boomer bust guys like Ray McLeod. I have Keon Coleman right around there, who is going to play for the Bills this week. Just, guys that kind of have to score a touchdown in order to do anything, and maybe they can break a big one. Who knows? But it's not something that I would want to rely on right now. Cedric Tillman is going to be out again for the Cleveland Browns. Concussion has now cost him 3 games, so Jerry Jeudy is number 7 in the wide receiver rankings. Elijah Moore is number 27 in the wide receiver rankings. It's also, when we get to tight ends, not quite sure whether or not David Njoku is going to play, so keep that in mind as well. But both of the Cleveland receivers, even in a tough matchup against the Chiefs, are both starts in the fantasy playoffs for your squad. I mean, if you have better 3 or 4 better options than Elijah Moore, I mean, you are in the playoffs. Maybe you do have that luxury, but it's probably not likely that that's going to be the case. Ladd McConkey is a game time decision. Again, he got in 3 limited practices, so he should play against the Buccaneers in a nice matchup. So I have him ranked at number 20, but we saw this exact same thing happened last week with McConkey, where he had 3 limited practices, and then boom, all of a sudden he is not playing in the Sunday Night Football game. So you have to be on the watch out for that. So he is a game time decision. If he plays, you play him. If not, Josh Palmer would elevate himself up to number 33 in the wide receiver rankings, with Quentin Johnson staying right around the same, around wide receiver number 37 against Tampa Bay. On the other side of the ball, Sterling Shepard is questionable with a foot injury. He's probably going to play. Keon Coleman, as I mentioned, in. Ditto with Rashad Bateman. Jalen Coker is now expected to be in as well. He's practiced in full during the week, which means fewer snaps for David Moore, presumably with how this shakes out. Maybe they end up going more over Coker, but that would seem strange, honestly, in a game where they are favored against the Dallas Cowboys, and with Carolina having absolutely nothing to play for at this point, you'd see what you'd want to get out of your younger wide receiver, not some old dude who you picked up off the scrap heap. So we'll get to David Moore a little bit later on when it comes to the underdog picks, but Jalen Coker's not like a must start. It's Adam Thielen, who is a must start. Leggett after that, and obviously Chuba Hubbard with Jonathan Brooks being done for the season. Those are the 3 Carolina Panthers that you want to be running out in your lineups this week. Romeo Doubs is leaning in, and actually it has pass concussion protocol. He is in. Josh Downs is leaning in. It looked like he was going to be back for sure because he was practicing in full, but now Shane Steichen says that it's still a bit up in the air. He's probably just playing coy. I have him in the rankings at number 28 against Denver this week. Tight end news, we got Evan Ingram out for the season for Jacksonville with a shoulder injury, so Britton Strange ends up back in the rankings. He's number 21 at tight end. Will Disley is out for the Chargers, so everyone's favorite player of the week, Stone Smart. Stone Cold Smart, by the way, is his middle name. Stone Cold Smart! It's a great name. He's going to stun the competition into oblivion. I got him at, screw it, let's put him at number 12 this week. We've just seen tight ends thrive in the Chargers system so far this season. He's going to be the pass-catching tight end. He's $2,600 on DraftKings. If you watch the Friday show where I broke down DraftKings lineups, he's like the free click that you can put in. Is he actually going to do anything? Who knows? His over-under is set at 26.5 receiving yards this week, so probably not. But he can find his way into the end zone, end up with like 4 for 50 in a touchdown. $2,600 on DraftKings is looking pretty good. And tight end sucks anyway in fantasy. So number 12, he is available like 99% of leagues if you need a tight end this week. And maybe he's just a backup for David Njoku, who has not practiced at all this week with a hamstring injury. He says that he's going to try to play. Don't like to hear that. I took him out of the rankings. I don't think that he's going to play. And even if he does play, do you really want to play a gimped up David Njoku with Jameis passing the ball against the Chiefs? Maybe, I suppose, is the answer to that question, depending on what your other alternatives are. I would play Smart over Njoku in this spot just because I'm not chancing him running out there as either a decoy or running 3 routes and coming out of the game. I didn't even rank him. I put Jordan Akins in at number 17 at the tight end rankings if you need another guy after Smart to potentially go pick up. Dalton Kincaid is leaning in for week 15 against the Lions. I mean, he hasn't been very good. I have him at tight end number 13, and that's like wishful thinking because he's been bad all year long. And Tyler Higbee missed Thursday Night Football, but is planning to return in week number 16 for the Rams as they're gearing up for a playoff run right now. Quarterback Derek Carr is out. Jake Haener is going to start. It's Kamara. That's it that you want to play for the Saints this week. Although Haener is going to show up in the underdog picks here in a second because there is a prop I like for him. Drew Lock is out. Tommy DeVito is going to start as now 17-point underdogs against the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, DeVito sucks. Don't play him. And Aiden O'Connell is still trying to play on Monday night against Atlanta. I don't think he's going to play. He hasn't practiced yet this week, so I have Desmond Ridder in the quarterback rankings in a revenge situation against the Falcons on Monday Night Football. The holidays are here, and this year, I'm not stressing about what to wear, especially around the house, because I'll be wearing my Doers. These are the most comfortable pants that I own. They make me look good, and they're so comfortable. I wear them at work, I wear them around the house, I wear them when I'm out doing things, because Doers denim and lifestyle apparel is built for doing. And I can really tell the difference right now because I've been switching in between jeans and I wear my Doers. There's a lot of temperature fluctuation going on right now at this time of the year. And the high quality temperature regulating fabrics, they keep me warm, but at the same time, I don't get overheated. So that's really where you want to go. And Doer has styles for everyone. They don't chase trends. There are pieces you can wear all year round. Trust me, I know you'll love your Doers as much as I do. Check out Doers flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopdoer.com/PME. Right now, my listeners get 20% off your first purchase when you use my exclusive URL, shopdoer.com/PME. This is such a great deal. Don't wait to get 20% off. Go now, shopdoer.com/PME. Introducing to you the TGL presented by SoFi Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN+. This is a simulator plus real chipping, real grass, and real green league featuring some of the PGA Tour's biggest players like Tiger and Rory and Xander. Only 2-hour matches inside of a stadium and has other sporting elements like timeouts, refs, and overtime. You tee off from real grass into a screen. You might end up in the rough, or sand, real sand, and have to play it back into the screen out of there after that. They use the technology to drop it by a real green side area plus a real putting surface, getting everyone involved in the contest. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. To learn more, visit tglgolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up. It's golf. Week 15, Underdog Picks. Reminder, use code Mayo right now. Get yourself a free pick, which you can replace any of these picks with or add on to double the odds of a lot of these entries. And you get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Let's try to cash in bigly. We almost cashed in bigly on Monday night. We're missing it by a pick every single time. I know that's how they get you, but it's been so close. We didn't get overtime in the Patriots and Dolphins, or the Dolphins and Jets game. Then all of a sudden, we win 20 times our money. We're looking good. We're feeling great, but now it's just a loser, and here we are. So I have a 3-banger and a 5-banger building onto it, and I'll have an 8-legger in the newsletter on Saturday evening as well, which features all these picks, but 3 more. I could probably even run those. You know what? Sub to the newsletter. It's free. You might as well find out what those ones are. Jake Hayner leads off the Underdog Picks for week number 15. 2.5 rushing attempts higher for him. He's come close to this number in part-time duty already in the games that he's come into. You do think that Washington does dial up the heat a little bit, then scales back if they get up by a bunch during this game. So as long as Hayner stays in the game and doesn't get hurt or sucks too much and gets replaced, then he should hit the higher than 2.5 rushing attempts. No problem. David Moore, I mentioned him earlier with Jalen Coker back. I'm taking a gamble that David Moore goes back to his tertiary role or just not playing that many snaps. His target number right now is set at 5. I am taking the lower on David Moore, 5 targets. Additionally, with Romeo Doubs back and everyone on that Green Bay offense now running back at full health, Dontavian Wicks is set at 4.5 targets in this game. I took the under on that as well. So you put those 3 together, and all of a sudden, you got yourself a nice 6-1 in this circumstance. And you use code Mayo, throw on the free pick. You get that up to 10-1 on your money. Like I said, it's Christmas time. Let's try to win some money here. Pay off Christmas right away. Was able to do that a few weeks ago between Jake Paul and winning like 5 of these in a row that I gave out on the show. And we built up a nice little bankroll here to try to really push towards the end of the season. So the 5-banger has those 3 that I had on it already. It had Hayner, Moore, and Dontavian Wicks. I also put Justin Herbert lower than 0.5 interceptions. He has 1 all season long. Just keep riding this one until the wheels fall off, apparently. And I've been doing it every week, and it's been winning every single week. So let's keep at that. It's sort of like the CD Lamb rushing prop. I'll play it till it stops working, and then got to go in a different direction. But as long as Herbert's already banged up. He's going to play in this game. But hell, if he has to exit the game early, he's going to hit his lower for sure. The other one I'm going with is just a really low number with Brian Robinson. I love Brian Robinson this week in terms of DraftKings. Start him in your fantasy lineups. I think he's going to go for over 100 yards rushing, but higher than 4.5 receiving yards. Austin Eckler's on injured reserve. He's nowhere to be found. So you have to deal with Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols out of the backfield, or just that Jaden Daniels doesn't check it down to anyone throughout the course of the game. The Saints do dial up a modicum of pressure. So if you get him rolling out a little bit, and this is just another way to get the ball into Brian Robinson's hands. This is basically one catch. If you get your one catch and he doesn't get his 4.5 yards higher, well, you had your opportunity. I feel like it should be there. He's averaging around 2.5 targets a game. You end up with a catch, 2 catches out of that. You should be able to achieve more than 4.5 receiving yards in the game. So you put those 5 together, it pays 20-1. So a 6-1, a 20-1, and if you're new, you throw on the free pick you get with code Mayo, along with the up to $1,000 of bonus funds you're going to get to play on Underdog. You can have yourself a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully the one guy doesn't screw us this week, okay? DraftKings ownership for week number 15 on the main slate. If you missed the lineup building show and the best ball playoff draft I did with Davis, that's out on the network right now and on the pod feed. Rate, review, subscribe, smash like, all that fun stuff. However, I am seeing that Chuba Hubbard has now lifted himself up to 36% ownership. That's by far the highest of any running back on the main slate. He's $6,500. James Conner, who is $100 more, is third at 22. So a lot of builds are just going to go Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, Brown, James Conner, and then find the guy to mix in. Rico Dowdle at 61 is fourth. Joe Mixon at 78 is projecting at 18. I think it comes in way lower than that. Then you have your Rashad White's moving up because of the Bucky Irving news. If he doesn't play, Rashad White becomes probably the cheapest of the running backs that you do want to play. He's $5,800. Ramondre's 59. They're all garnering double-digit ownership. Brian Robinson, we talked about him being one of the better plays on the slate because he falls in that range as well as Dowdle and Hubbard. These guys all can't be owned. So if you do really think that Chase Brown and Hubbard are probably the highest, then Connor and Dowdle are next, and then Rashad White gets a boost if Bucky Irving's declared out because of his price point. There's just not enough salary to go around for 13% of the field to own Brian Robinson. Like, he'll be single digits, and that's the spot where you really want to go out to. Now, you can always use the optimal leverage tab on runthesims.com. Code Mayo if you don't have it in yet. It's all the props, underdog tools, the simulations, the optimizer. I'm looking at it right now, and the optimal leverage. So the optimal leverage is ownership minus optimal rate. So optimal rate is 10,000 simulations being run and how many times this player appears in the optimal lineup for the week. Now, someone like Saquon is at number 2. Tyrone Tracy is actually at number 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. He's $5,700 in a bad matchup. He appears in the optimal lineup 8% of the time, and he is projected at 2% ownership right now. I don't know if I have the guts to go there because I just try to find the money for Brian Robinson, but that's interesting to note. Breece Hall as well at 4.5% in terms of optimal leverage because he is projected at lower than 1% ownership at $6,400 in a great matchup. If you want to bite the bullet and take the chance that he's actually okay and he gets full run, you're not going to find a better price point all season long. After that, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, 4% ownership, optimal rate 9%, 5% optimal leverage at $7,500. He is the pivot off of Chase Brown. If you want to, and if you just want to get access to that game, Gibbs or Montgomery are probably the two best options, or James Cook, I suppose, because they take the air out of the game. They hurt all the receivers. They hurt the quarterbacks Gibbs could actually play along with Goff through the receiving game, but in general, running backs take away from what quarterbacks and receivers and tight ends are doing. If they run the clock, they shrink the game, they make sure everything stays on the ground, and they just take away fantasy points from everyone else. So Gibbs as a leverage play makes a lot of sense to me at running back this week. At wide receiver, we're looking at, where are we here? It's T. Higgins? Yeah, T. Higgins at number 1 with Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Cortland Sutton, and Jamar Chase as the top 5 right now. When people are going down, Ridley and Marvin Harrison, Adam Thielen, all in the $5,000 range, getting a little bit of love. No one cheap wide receiver this week is garnering a lot of attention. The cheapest one seems to be Sterling Shepard, and we don't even know if he's going to play or not. I like Diami Brown if you need just a pure punt. Like Devon Vale is $4,200. Diami Brown is $3,100. I mean, he's a big play guy. It just takes one to get there. If you're going to risk someone like that in your lineup, a 31, I see no difference between the two. Like, if you need the maximum amount of points, like, what's Vale really going to do for you? What's the best case scenario? Let's see. What is his projected ceiling right now is 21 fantasy points. That's Vale at $4,200. Browns is 17. At $3,100, and the median is right around the same. Like Vale's is 8, Brown's is 6, so it's a 2-point difference. It's $1,100 a salary. If you need that money, that's where I would be going this week in terms of filling out the back end of my lineups. And it's great to work in with the Jaden Daniels stack as well. You can go Daniels and Brown with Ertz if you wanted to, and just say, hey, they absolutely blow out the Saints. This is how they do it, and it gives you access to all those higher price players that we talked about at running back. In terms of optimal leverage this week, there's one name that stands out above them all, and it's AJ Brown. 2% ownership, optimal leverage of 11%. And he has the squeaky wheel narrative as well. Unfortunately, he's $8,000, and no one is paying up for high-end wide receivers. So number 1, 2, and 3 in the optimal leverage right now, AJ Brown, Nico Collins, and Terry McLaurin. And only Nico Collins is projecting anywhere over 5%. Everyone else, Devonta Smith, 3%. AJ Brown, 2%. Quentin Johnson actually is only 3% as well. Zay Flowers, 9%. Like, there's some good names at the very top here that no one is using. If you can figure out a way to manipulate your lineups and get them around, and Diami Brown and Stone Smart are probably the 2 ways that you can do that, and a cheap defense to get all of those names in, and you can live with those mid-tier and mid-range running backs. You might even have to cheap out at another receiver spot if you go that route, but it's there for the taking if you want to do it, and very few people are doing it, which means it's usually the best time to exercise that sort of lineup. At tight end, McBride, and then Stone Smart at 15% at $2,600. Even cheaper, Brenton Strange now projected at 12% at $2,500. So if you did want to get off a bit of Smart and go to Strange, that does make some sense to me. I like Smart better objectively, but that's where I'm at. Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz. Those are the top 5 in terms of leverage. It's probably Isaiah Likely like it is every week. And it is Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, 7%, 6% in optimal leverage. No one is using these guys. I'd go with Andrews over Likely, but that's just a place to get it wrong every week. If Njoku is out, Akins is the pivot off of the two cheap guys in Strange and Smart. He's $2,700 and no one is using him. He's 1% owned right now. So if you do want to diversify a little bit at tight end and you're planning to cheap out and you do have a portfolio of Stone or Smart and Strange, you can go to Akins in that spot if you want to. Cade Otton and Freiermuth are the next guys on that list. At defense, when we take a look at projected ownership, we're seeing who we got here. The Browns are 9%. Ravens, Cardinals, Browns, Jets, Eagles are the top 5. Then you have the Denver Broncos at 6%. The Browns are only $2,200. That is the cheap defense. It seems like the masses are paying down for. You can use the Titans at 23, the Dolphins at 25. Both are in decent spots here. $2,400 for the Saints against Washington. I don't love that one because they could see a lot of points very quickly. Hell, even the Jags at $2,700 against the Jets. It's not like the Jets are good. I mean, the Jags aren't good either, especially their defense. But if you wanted to line up against anyone, that could be the spot if you wanted to take a look at it. But I agree with the Browns. They're $2,200. It makes sense. It's not like the Chiefs are posting a ton of points. It's an outdoor game. It's not going to be warm. Turnovers could come from that game. Kyler Murray is projected to be the highest owned quarterback this week, followed by Herbert, strangely enough, because he pairs well. Tua, Drake May, Levis, and Stroud. The one thing that I will throw onto this, I see Joe Burrow at 4% ownership. That doesn't track for me, only because Higgins and Chase were 2 of the top 5 owned receivers. If you are playing Chase or you're playing Higgins or you're playing both, you're playing Joe Burrow with them. That is happening in lineup. So 4%. If one guy's going to be 28%, the other guy's going to be 17%, the quarterback is only 4%, that doesn't make sense to me with how people build lineups. So I'd expect Joe Burrow to be a lot higher than that. I would expect Justin Herbert to be a lot lower than that. So Kyler, Tua, May, Levis is probably the spot where they're going. Funny enough that no one, again, is using Josh Allen. He's going to be 2 or 3% owned. People thinking that the front runner for the MVP cannot do it again as an underdog in Detroit on another fast track. I went all in on Josh Allen last week, and it really paid a lot of dividends. Didn't have the rest of the lineup to go along with it to get that big money. But if there's a spot to go back again, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen would be the 2 places to go look at, or Jaden Daniels, who's coming in at 4%. If you can figure out a way to either play them by themselves, or you can find a way to use some of their pieces to make it work. I mean, Diami Brown for Jaden Daniels works out the best because he's so cheap, and then he can pile up everywhere else. But even if you don't use anyone with them, if you can figure out how to get that expensive salary into your lineup and work out the rest of your lineup, no one's using these guys. So there's a big opportunity if those are 3 of the best 4 quarterbacks. Lamar is another one. Again, people are using Lamar a little bit more, but not substantially more at all. Actually, no, they're not. Lamar Jackson, 1%. Jalen Hurts, 1%. So all the good quarterbacks on this slate are not being used. If you can figure out the one that is going to go off this weekend, it's usually one of the 4 of those guys, then you're going to win all the money if you can figure out the rest of the pieces to go along with it. You can use Run the Sims to find that out. Use code Mayo, get yourself 10% off right now, and I will have the leverage scores in the newsletter later on Saturday evening, along with the updated rankings, the underdog picks, the cheat sheet for bets, and the full injury report, everything you need to know. So please go subscribe to that right now, okay? I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. Let's win some bucks. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!